Hi, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Mike at Night. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for coming here weekly on Thursdays from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We just have 1 hour to interact, but I hope that you appreciate what we have every single week. Those of you who are visiting with if you are on for the first time, just say, hey, first time. Just write first time in the chat there so that we can acknowledge you and be able to recognize you as much as possible. Those of you who have always been with me every week, so happy to have you. Alice John, thank you. Good to see you back. Avanel Mackenzie, good evening. My good friend Avril, good to see you. Makini John, Makini, you need to contact me because you keep giving me. Well, I hope that is the correct email address this time. But glad to see you on, Makini. Candice Alexander, good to see you. Flament at large, my goodness, there, good friend of mine, outspoken man. Carolyn Garraway, good evening, good evening, good evening. This evening we're talking some good stuff. We ask you, well, we always talk good stuff. Every time it gets better. Emlyn Guy, good evening to you. I want you to share the live. I want you to just call around and share the live. My sister-in-law, Kim Stewart, good to see you. All the way from Georgia, Atlanta. Good evening. Vera Ropa, good evening to you. Yes, good to have you. Just share the live. Call somebody, tell them, tune in. I want you to be able to tell somebody that we are on. Sandra Lamb, always here with us. Good evening to you. Yeah, call the Shorty. Good evening. Let us be able to share this information with everybody because I think it could do some healing. It could create some answers to people in their lives, etc. So it's a wonderful occasion that we have. We're going to share with you today five reasons or five things that may show up as childhood wounds that you might be suffering from. Yeah, so you got to listen to this. But let's go to the sponsors to pay some bills and we'll be right back. Double B Supermarket, 60 to 62 Government House Road, Scarborough, Tobago. All items reasonably priced, friendly staff. If you don't believe me, you call them 639-5329. If you ask them any question, they'll tell you Jesus is the answer.
Don't let the weather of the day dictate your pace. I stayed cool every time I got into my vehicle, and you can too. At Tow School Center of 31 Gaskin Bay Road, Bonaccord, they specialize in auto air conditioning with parts and services catering to your car's needs. Call and ask for tows at 660-8777 or 788-3535. Tow School Center, where a comfortable ride is a cool ride.
Okay, well, you heard about our singles program that we have coming up. We're building a community of single people. Those single people who have been saying we have not been able to be exposed to people who are single, not that they're in for a relationship, they just want to be in a community of single people. And there are some who want a relationship. Well, we have this wonderful event coming up this Saturday. Yes, it is just around the corner, 2 more days. And we are going to have it today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we got to have it. Let me tell you, we have over 80 something persons already registered, going on 90 persons that are already registered for this. And we are looking to make sure that you could be able to be part of it. You know somebody who's single. So many people say that, listen, some are alone and some feel lonely, which is two different things. And so we're building this community from around the world, from around the Caribbean, as many places as possible. And this is on Saturday, 6 o'clock. We're going to ask you to go to my website. If you are single and you want to be part of it, or you know somebody who's single, make sure you get in contact with them. Go to my website, www.michaelatstewart.com. Slide down on the first page, on the home page, and register. Make sure you register as soon as possible. We're running out of time, but we already have great encouragement with the number of persons who are logging in for this great event. Yeah. And let me tell you that we have our next upcoming workshop. This, though the singles one is free, this one costs. And there is a special price if you register by the 6th of August. This one is 275 TT, which is going at a very good price, and or 39.95 US for those of you who are outside of Trinidad and Tobago. It is going to go at a cheaper cost with $200 TT and $29.95 if you register and pay by the 6th of August. Yep. And that is going to be a wonderful, wonderful program. I'm seeing that Lawrence is saying that we have some transmission problems affecting the viewers. If that is so, then let's see if we could correct that. I don't know whether it is on Lawrence's own device, but I'm not seeing anybody else complaining about it. Yes. Okay. All right. All right. So let me see. Timothy, good evening. That's Timothy Benjamin, Patsy Greg, Lamimi. Yes. Good evening to you, Orville Melville. Good night. Yeah, like a habit. Lenora Francis Moses, Sandra Jack, hey, good to see you. Marva Celestine, good evening. Ursula, Kenson, Elon. Wow, so good to see all of you all. Continue to share the live. Joy, good evening to you also. We're talking about 5 childhood wounds that bleed in us in adults. So let's get going and see if we could cover the 5. And if you're lucky enough, we might be able to give you more than 5. Yeah. Let's go. Number 1, let me explain first of all, before I go ahead. Childhood wounds affect most of us. There are things that took place in our childhood that we are unaware how it affects us. In fact, when our families talk about us, or spouses talk about us, we often don't even know that they are really pointing out something that is real, right? And so the poll is up, and I want you to start answering the poll as it is up. Would you say that you struggle with childhood wounds? Yeah, because that we need you to identify that yourself. So you may be suffering from childhood wounds and you do not know it. You may be married or in a relationship with somebody who manifests childhood wounds. They don't know it, but it is affecting the relationship. Even if it is not in a relationship, it may be that it is in the situation on your job, in your community, in some club, in the church. You're seeing people with their childhood challenges that are showing up. So I don't want you to really, because you cannot recall it readily, think that you do not have the problem. Because it is so insidious, it is so underlying that it may take you some time to sit back, think about it carefully, and say, probably that might be one of the problems that have been affecting me. I want you to give yourself a chance. I want to invite you to give yourself the opportunity to search your heart. It might be the difference between resolving some of the problems that you've been having with yourself and with others if you just give yourself a chance to look at it. So they often show up in the difficulties we experience in our intimate relationships, in our families, etc. So I want us to look at it from that standpoint. So number one, and I hope you're taking notes. Number 1, rejection. Probably one of the most powerful ones. Rejection. If you have a child that has grown up and they feel as though they did not fit into their family, and sometimes this might be because they may not be as bright as another one, they may not be as good looking as another one, would you believe? They may not have the complexion as the other children in the home. They may not be as disciplined as the other children. They may be a stepchild and not a child. This is a stepchild that has come into a home and blended into a home where there is a legitimate mother and father in this relationship with their child for both of them. But you are a child that was from another relationship and you just feel as though you're a hand-on. And so you may feel rejected. That has implications for you. I remember having a couple, and they said they were talking about this child that was giving so much trouble in the family. And in chatting with them to find out why this child is giving so much trouble, they said that they give the child everything, they have the child everything, and so on. So I just took a glance around the house, in their home, and I saw pictures of the children of the family, but not the child that was born before they started this family, who lives in the same home. This is the troubled child. No picture, but there's a picture of everybody else. So when I inquired also, when they go out to the grocery and go places, and I inquired of the child who felt that he did not fit in, he said when they go out, they leave me at home and they go out with the rest, which means that's a family I'm not. So this child grew up with rejection. Whenever somebody grows up with rejection, it manifests itself in their reality, in relationships, etc. So getting an answer of no is considered rejection. If somebody left you for somebody else, it's rejection. But this is rejection that is amplified from childhood, that you tell yourself, this thing is following me all through my life. Yes. So some people can't take rejection. Might I put into you that many of the murder, suicide, intimate partner violence that's taking place, particularly, notice whenever you hear that, let's take it from the men's standpoint, that when a woman leaves a man, how violent he gets. Some of these men grew up with rejection from a child, and now they are grown, and his woman, quote unquote woman, his woman, is leaving him. This woman he loves is leaving him. Now, the relationship may not be very fertile. It may be volatile, but she's leaving him anyway. The fact that she's leaving him is confirmation of the rejection that he probably might be struggling with for so long. No justification for what he's doing. I'm not justifying it. I'm just giving an explanation of some of the things that may be taking place. There are times that a man is leaving a woman and she feels rejected when he goes and he has an affair with another woman. It bothers her a lot because she asks herself, what is it about that woman that makes my husband cause my man to leave me to go with that woman? Rejection. She muses about this all the time, even though she tries to forgive, she tries to overcome it, she tries to pull herself back together. Why is it? The girl is not even better looking than I am. The girl doesn't have anything that she has on me, but why did he lose it? And that confirms her, I'm rejected. Where did that come from? It may have started many years ago. Yeah. So rejection happens to be the first one. That is where the child feels dismissive. The child feels that, oh, nobody cares about me. Everybody starts to tell me, sit down, shut your mouth, stay outside. People have everything going on, and this child sits in the corner and has no interaction with the adults, have no interaction with everybody else, especially if that child is a single child in the home and everybody else is adult. He has nobody to play with. She has nobody to interact with. Everybody just seeing about their business, and that child just have to come inside and just overhear conversations, play by himself or herself. Child could feel rejected. If the child tries to say something and doesn't want to be heard, the child could feel rejected. Would you say, the poll is up, would you say that you struggle with childhood wounds? This is just one wound of rejection. We want you to say whether you do. So what happens to this adult who feels rejected and who grows up into an adult? There are some people who don't mix with society. They don't mix with friends and so on too much. They don't try to get close to people. Anytime somebody try to get close to them, they shut down, they shut up, they freeze up. Every time they begin to fall in love, they seem to question themselves whether this is going to last anything at all, and they begin to sabotage the relationship. Yeah. Why? Because they're telling themselves, if I give my heart, what if the person walks out on me? Where did that come from? My father may have walked out on my mother. The person's mother may have left the father. And they saw what happened. They grew up with sense of rejection. They fear it so much. They don't want to give their heart. Now you might meet somebody that you love so much, and you want to give them a good life. You want to be able to be with them in a genuine relationship, but the person would not surrender. The person is hesitant. The person is scared. The person doesn't even know they're scared. They're scared. They don't even know that they're rejecting you. They just tell them, I don't want to fight up in no relationship. I don't want to. Yeah. So who knows? The reason may be Lamimi. I'm only pulling Lamimi legs. The reason may be they are fearful of rejection. Can't handle a no. Can't handle a turn down. Can't handle that I don't like you. You're a friend, but I don't like you in that way. There are some guys who want to approach a girl, but he can't take the fact that she might say, I don't think I want to be in a relationship with you. Hello, you got to risk it. Yeah. So that's one. Two, abandonment. Abandonment is most time between the ages of 2 to 3 years old, which is similar to the rejection part. The physical absence of a parent in a child's life has far-reaching impact on children. When parents separate, we think the children do not recognize what is happening. They are not impacted. They are. Because that child connects with parent. It is called attachment. In animals, it might call imprinting. So they get connected to the adult. But when the parent disappears for some reason, because soon after the child is born, the relationship ends. And once that relationship ends and that parent does not show up again for a while, they don't see the parent and so on, it begins to affect the child. The child feels abandonment issues. I've been left behind. Probably they left because of me. Probably I cried too much. Probably I made too much noise. Why mommy left or why daddy left and would not come back? Yes. So these abandonment issues comes mainly from the absence of a parent. It makes the child feel dependent, trust issues. When I needed the person, I miss the person, I love the person. Sometimes, it don't even have to be that the parent has left, It could have been that the parent died. Did you know that? A grandmother that the child, 6 years old, had gotten so attached to, and the grandmother died, and the child has no idea where grandma has gone. Just know that grandma doesn't show up anymore. The last time they might have seen grandma, they were closing a box over her. Nobody explained anything. So that abandonment issue makes people become very resistant to a relationship where they feel that they should not trust or put too much hope in. And in the relationship, what begins to happen is this. Two things could happen. The person becomes very dependent, so that you'll always feel the need to be there to catch me. So every time there's a learned helplessness that goes into the relationship. Because if I could make you feel as though you have to be there for me, you would be less likely to leave. So that's one extreme that you could go to. This other extreme is that I don't trust that you will always be there for me. So here's what the person could do. Some people have become immensely successful in their career, in their achievement, because of abandonment issues. They don't want to ever depend on anybody again in their life. Because I don't know whether these people will abandon me. So I don't want to be dependent. I want to be so independent. I want to go after life myself. But how does that interact with relationships? The person you are with could start to feel irrelevant in your life because you seem to be self-sufficient. All in one. Yes. Let me see some matters that rejection leaves a stinging pain in one's heart. Yes, can make one suicidal. That's right, Joanne. Absolutely. A number of people do that. Just this week, we understand Dwight York's brother. It was on the news, so this is not private matter that I'm sharing here now. Dwight York's brother, Dwight York is the famous footballer, was found unresponsive. It is reputed that it was because of some relationship issue. That's what it is reputed. I'm just selling it as I bought it. Now, if it was a relationship issue, could he be feeling that he was abandoned or he was rejected? And that affected him tremendously. So though that abandonment issue is real. It's real. I'm going to give you one more and then we're going to go to the break. In the meanwhile, post your comments and answer the poll so that we can get an idea. Do you feel as though you struggle with abandonment issues? Okay. Right. So let me give you the third one. Humiliation. And those of you who've been following me, just start to write the three for those who came in late. Write the three for those who joined us late. Humiliation. What is humiliation? You know, we sometimes we insult people. We embarrass people. When a child feels insulted and embarrassed, that child grows up with a sense of that the child is humiliated. There's a self-esteem issue, and the child looks to be validated, for somebody to endorse them, to assure them that they are not as bad as they think of themselves, because they have a self-esteem issue. You know, long-time parents used to go to school and beat their children in front of the entire class for when they have done wrong. Yeah? You all know of that? Where there'll be so many issues that children were given such treatment in front of people, boxed in front of people, spoken to all kind of ways in front of their friends. Everybody have a self-esteem and a kind of a bravado that they want to hold up as though they're good inside. But when we kill that, when we lash that out of children, we are bringing them up with a sense of humiliation. And now they grow up into an adult. And what happens when they grow into an adult? They seek validation. They seek validation from other people. Part of this validation, when they have been mocked, they might have a flaw in their physical. Yeah? In my sense, I'm short. So I was constantly humiliated because of my height. They would joke about me being short. I started to have a self-esteem issue, I'll admit that, while growing up. Because I was constantly heckled because of my height and I could do nothing about it. I was stuck. Well, that is until I started to like myself. I started to accept myself. I started to appreciate myself. They could joke now. In fact, I join and give them jokes about my height. That's no problem with me now. But there are some people still stuck in it. They may have a flaw. I remember there's a gentleman. He had a tight tongue and apparently used to suck his thumb long into his grown-up years. So his teeth carried a shape such like an entrance to a cave. And his skin was flawed. I mean, he had so many issues, and he would hardly be able to talk or speak. Every time you talk to him, he would just be in silence. And this is a man, he's already in his 20s, 30s, just be in silence, because he was not considered to be a good looking guy. When you watch him immediately, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, when you watch him immediately, he was not comely. Yeah. So he had a serious self-esteem issue. But that also brought out from him an anger issue. He got angry very easily. Some of you in your relationships, your anger issue stems back from your childhood. The things that you just keep flipping over and you lose it over might be some things from your childhood that you need to check out. Yeah, that is important for you to check, because it is destroying relationships around you. Thank you for those who were posting the 3 points so that those who came late can see. Joanne, thank you very much. Thank you, Candice, and all the others who have been posting. Appreciate it. Yes. So that issue of humiliation that people go through, self-esteem, they look for validation. They get into a relationship, and here's how the validation issue, because of the humiliation, they never think that they are good at anything they do, and they need somebody to always praise them. They want to hear you say how they look, that they look nice, before they can even think they look nice. They want, whenever they do something, if it's a woman and she cooked something or she did something, she wants to be validated. If it's a man, he wants to be praised for what he has done. If you just want to be validated, and if they are not validated, they feel highly offended. They feel a problem with it. And so if he doesn't even say a good word towards me, you need that. They need that. They always want, they crave it. Yes. But when they have to crave it so much that they cannot do without it, they need. Sometimes, have you ever had your wife come up to you and say, do you love me? Do you still love me? Why is she asking if you still love me? Yeah? Did you say anything that made her think that she doesn't love you? No. She needs validation. She's suffering from a self-esteem issue. I don't think I'm good enough. But it also could put a strain on the relationship, always seeking the validation. So is that you? Is that you? Even as a supervisor, as a boss, as a worker, you think that somebody must always say something about you. When they sitting down and they praising everybody, let's say in a staff meeting, and they thank this person and they thank that person and they thank that person and they left your name out, how do you feel? Do you really need to have your name called? If you have a problem needing validation, you'll want your name called because you want to be recognized. But there are other people, they just missed out my name, but I know I did something, I performed well. I know I did my part. It doesn't bother you. But if you have been humiliated and your self-esteem is gone, you need things and people to show that up. Part of that humiliation and lack of self-esteem is it makes you afraid to speak up and to have a voice. You can't say what you want to say because you're afraid you say the wrong thing. You're afraid they laugh at you. A child gets up to answer a question in class. The child thinks the answer is right and then found out that the answer was wrong, and everybody laughed then. That is coming up in the years as a wound that will bleed in a relationship where that person loses the voice to speak. I'm not going to say what I really think, lest what I think is wrong. You ask your wife or you ask your husband, what do you think about so and so? They don't want to tell you. They'll keep their mouth shut lest they say the wrong thing. They don't want to be able to be vocal on any matter in the workplace or what have you. They have an opinion, of course they do, but they don't feel they should share it, no matter how much you ask them. All right, let's take a break. Let's go to the break and then we come back for the other two. And if you're lucky, the other three. All right, answer the poll. Double B Supermarket, 60 to 62 Government House Road, Scarborough, Tobago. All items reasonably priced, friendly staff. If you don't believe me, you call them 639-5329. If you ask them any question, they'll tell you Jesus is the answer.
Don't let the weather of the day dictate your pace. I stayed cool every time I got into my vehicle, and you can too. At Tow School Center of 31 Gaskin Bay Road, Bonaccord, they specialize in auto air conditioning with parts and services catering to your car's needs. Call and ask for tows at 660-8777 or 788-3535. Tow School Center, where a comfortable ride is a cool ride.
Oh yes, just remember our singles program that is coming up. That is on Saturday. If you are a single, this one is for singles. And when you go to the website, you'll see that we have something coming up for people in relationships, married people and so on. It's called Marriages Are Not Broken, People Are. Make sure you register for that. But when you go to the website, you'll see it. But this one is for singles. And this one, as I said, we have over 80 persons. I know that for sure. It was 80 something when I last looked at it. And since then, I know that others registered. So I don't have the exact count, but I know for sure it's over 80 something singles have registered for it. We're looking, especially, we want to encourage the men to come on board so that the ladies would have some males to be able to chat with. We do have some men, and we thank you all for coming on board with it. Yeah, but we're looking forward to it. Make sure you log on early 6 o'clock to be part of this. It's going to be a wonderful community that we are developing and growing people. We are not doing matchmaking. You will do that yourself. We are just providing a community and providing a space that people could be developed and grow and understand some of the things that operate in single people. We now have over 52% of adults are single. That's more than half the population in the United States. This is what I understand. That is alarming if you have so many people single. Yeah. And we're going to talk about what the implications are with that. There are some who want to be single, and that's okay. All right, next one, we have this one coming up, which is Decisions Determine Destiny. You've got to be part of this because every decision you make takes your life down a path. Some of the things that you are suffering from, most of the things you are suffering from is because of a decision you made or a decision you failed to make. If you don't know how to make good decisions, you are going to always get your life entangled. So when you should be going forward, you are taking one step forward, two steps backwards. So you can stop that by making good decisions, and we're going to help you with that. That one is on the August the 20th. But if you register early, you'll get a discount. Also go to the website www.michael.a.t.stewart. There are so many other great programs that we have there that you really need to visit it. Nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, that is Sid working in the background. Sid Jones is his name. Yeah, always does a great job on this Thursday. And the other with these two, but I could talk about this one. All right, so what did they call you? They used to call me Little Jesus for so short. Little or Short God. All of that they used to call me from small. Lamimi said they used to call her Bag of Bones. Yes. And she said all of them fat now, and she's still slim. All right. Good evening, Pamela Duncan. Yep, we dealt with 3 already. Tara Sicharan, good evening to you. We dealt with 3 of the things we spoke about in childhood. And I'm going to encourage you to call in. You could call by WhatsApp, or you can message send me a WhatsApp message, or you can write your comment or your questions on the Facebook. Let us see it, and I would read it out and I shall try to answer it. The telephone number, which is also the WhatsApp number, is 868 688 5363. I'll repeat that again for you: 868 688 5363. If you've just joined us, my name is Michael Stewart. We are talking about the 5 childhood wounds that bleed in us as adults. It shows up in us as adults. Yeah. All right. So we dealt with rejection, as you could see from those who posted it. We dealt with abandonment and humiliation. Let's deal with betrayal. Betrayal. When children are betrayed or feel betrayed, when we set them up and tell them things, do them things, we don't recognize that if we created an expectation and we throw cold water on that excitement and heat of expectation, we are setting them up for a sense of betrayal. They do not trust adults. They don't trust other people to keep their word. They feel betrayed. You promised the child to take them on a trip. You promised the child that the child can go and visit the cousins. You made a promise to the child that if the child came first in test, the child will get a bicycle. You made a promise. And then when the time comes, you find a way either to forget that you made the promise, deny that you made the promise, or you get an excuse why you cannot keep the promise. The child with the excitement and expectation is so high that the child eventually feels betrayed. I remember on one of my programs live, and I don't know how this young man, he sounded about 9 years old. I don't know how he got the telephone. I don't know whether he may have been given the telephone by his mother, but certainly it was touching. When the young man called the radio station, we live on air, and he gave his story. He said to me that daddy bought him a bicycle, a tricycle, well, a bicycle with training wheels. Bought him a bicycle. And mommy and daddy fell out. Apparently, the father and mother don't live together. But he bought him the bicycle and they had a quarrel. And he says, daddy came back and took the bicycle from him. That is years ago, and I'm now talking about it, and it's still touching me deep down inside, very emotionally. Because that's betrayal. That boy cannot grow up trusting people that they won't betray him. Because his own father reneged because of something that had nothing to do with him. That betrayal, and whenever people feel betrayed and they feel as though they cannot trust people, they become very suspicious. That boy is likely, if nothing is done to be able to assist him, to get into a relationship and will become very suspicious of any woman he's in a relationship with, that she would say one thing and do another. She will give a facade, pretend one way, and she does something else. Some women, they have grown up in betrayal. And so they may be a betrayal from another man, might be a betrayal that they saw in their father, might be a betrayal that they experienced as a child, and become very suspicious of the relationship that they're in. They just smell a perfume on the man and she thinks that he is going to be unfaithful to her. She realizes he comes home late and she begins to accuse. And so every little thing she accuses, she becomes all worked up over. And some of them really not real. Some of them may be real, but some of them may not be real. But she's overthinking the situation because she has a childhood wound called betrayal. She's becoming overly alert. Yeah. So the person who said, If you don't heal from your wounds, you will bleed on someone who never cut you. I'll say that again. I don't know who said it, but I read it. If you bleed, if you don't heal from your wounds, you will bleed on someone who never cut you. Yeah. Betrayal. It's bad. Yeah. People who don't keep their promise. And so, especially if they promised you something that you look forward to so much, a boat ride, a visit to another island, a trip. Wow. It makes you feel real bad. All right. So that's the betrayal part. What does it do in the relationship? Well, they say that sometimes that person turns out to be very controlling because they've been betrayed by so much. Where you going? The wife may ask. So why you don't stay home? Right? They begin to control your life. The man begins to control her life because he's been betrayed. He doesn't want her to go anywhere. Wants to put on laws. She does not want him to do things, does not want him to have friends. Start to put on laws because of the betrayal, that controlling thing that takes over inside of the relationship, which comes again from a trust issue. Suspicious that people would not be genuine. The betrayal also comes that whenever somebody comes genuinely to want to be your friend, you become very suspicious. Why they want to offer me that? Why is it they're calling me? Why is it they being so nice? Everything they now begin to question. Might be because of betrayal issues. Now, what I'm saying here, I'm not trying to diagnose people. It's not necessarily this is what is taking place. I'm just telling you things that you could now investigate. Yeah. Okay, so Timothy says, I have childhood wounds that I struggle with even up to today. I was the black sheep of the family and I felt I never belonged anywhere. These wounds are so deep that I was never heard the words I love you until I reached the age of 21. I heard these words for the first time from my grandmother and my aunt. I had to fend for myself. I think I lost. I was just reading it there, but they are so. There are a number of chats, and I appreciate all the chats. Not that I could be able to read them well while there are so many. But I got the message to what Timothy was saying. Okay. Now, let me tell you. I see Joanne said that I'm raising up some ants' nests here. Very inspiring topic, she says. And I know that is raising up some ants' nests. Let me say one time here that we do private confidential counseling. Again, you can go to the website www.michael.et.stewart and you can book yourself a private confidential. Whether part of the world you are in, we can do it on Zoom. Once you fill that out, you're going to get a Zoom link and we will be able to sit down and chat with you. Because we've got to heal. We've got to recover from the problems that we are experiencing. It affects our marriages. It affects our intimate relationships. It affects how we connect with people on the job. It affects our prospect for promotion, because some of you could very well be promoted, but it's your attitude. It is the things that are inside of you, the anger that is manifested, because you might have an anger issue that might have come from a betrayal issue. You might have had a personality flaw that comes from something that came from your childhood. Do not destroy your prospects in your present and your future because you are not dealing to heal with those issues from your past. And some of you are married to somebody who's struggling with the issue. You may not be the one with the issue, but unfortunately, you are in a relationship with somebody you love, but the person has an issue. They may need the help. And so we are asking you to feel free to go to the website, michael.et.stewart.com. www.michaelatstewart.com, or just hit me a text and we're going to try and set you on the right track. Okay, so what time is it? We're doing good with the time, man. Um, let me see now. I'm trying to find my way. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's put up the second question for the poll one time, my people. Um, let's talk about that. The second poll question is, I never remember it. Would you let me get that second poll question one time. Right. Would you wish to contact us for private counseling? Yeah, you could answer that and take action. Let's see how many people out there think that they need the assistance. We just want to gauge how many people may have and want the assistance. So let me also go to the last one. I will give you two more. I'll give you two more, just because you all have been nice people. Instead of 5 that we promoted and we told you that we'll give you, I'll give you 6 childhood wounds. Injustice. Injustice is when you feel you have been taken advantage of. And people feel as though they've been taken advantage of for many reasons and in many ways. For example, you may have been punished as a child for things you didn't do. The parent, in their anger and haste, may have punished the wrong child. And you grew up holding that inside of you for years. The injustice of it. I know of people who cry in their adulthood. Big men, 60 years old, I have seen cry for licks they got when they were 7 years old for things that their parent concluded wrongly as to who was guilty, who caused the fight, who started this. They cried at 60 years old off of it. Childhood. But many of these people also have anger issues, because whenever there's injustice in any society, you look at how the society responds. People block road, protest, burn places, and criminal activities and so on. It's almost a hatred that comes up whenever there's injustice. There's injustice also when one child is punished more than the next child because one child is favored above the next. So when Timothy spoke about the black sheep, there are certain things that will come out whenever somebody feels as though I have been a black sheep. And black sheep means I have not been favored as everybody else. I have not gotten just due. I have not been dealt with fairly. That has its impact. That has its impact. When somebody feel that as a child I'm growing up and these are not equity that is operating in the space that I'm in. I'll get licks for getting a sum wrong. Somebody else would get the sum wrong, and they would not be. They would have a different treatment. They will be given another chance. So what happens whenever a person goes up in a state of injustice? Well, that irritability and the kind of thing that when you see young people in a society where injustice prevails, they don't care what people think anymore. Because as far as they're concerned, there's no justice, so anything that I do now, there should not be meted out any just or requirement of any justice now, because there was no justice when I was growing up. There's no justice in the place. So I could do what I want and I don't care what all they think. Do you know people who get to a stage of that that they resist anybody who want to tell them anything. They don't want any rules. They don't want any conditions to what they're doing, because that's how they have been socialized. So that injustice, and we come back to the outside child, that the outside child feels that the next child gets all the toys. A young man told me this, that his father and mother are not together, but the father seemed to be liming a woman who is the neighbor of where he lives with his mother. And that young man told me that the father would come by the neighbor and don't even hail him out. Don't even call and say, boy, how you doing? The father would tell him he doesn't have money, but the father will bring gifts, toys, for the lady's child. It's not even his child, for the lady's child next door. That is such a sad, sad thing. That's what that child considers injustice. It's not fair. And I wonder if no wonder, a couple years later, that boy was killed in a fight. Because that's what injustice does. It makes you angry with the world, angry with everybody else. Some of these fights and those quarrels that you see going down in domestic setting, in your relationship, probably the person is coming through some matter of injustice in their life. They have to work hard. Some women who have to work hard in order to establish themselves because they are women. Because everybody seems to be putting them down because they're women. And so you find that some of these women working extra hard to be able to find their required and rightful place in society. Once you allow that, you are going to bring up a set of women who are going to be angry women. It is better off that a woman gets what is justly hers, then you wouldn't get so much anger. That's my respectful view. So we've got to learn to be able to bring equity in society and equity in the home so that people could feel comfortable. Let me go one more. Self-doubt. Self-doubt. All right, I hope you all remember them now. Self-doubt. Self-doubt is whenever a child grows up in a home where there is authoritative law, there is strict rules and law that you can't break, and anytime you break and you miss, it is punishment. You could never do anything wrong. You know, some of us grow up under that. Yeah. It brings fear whenever you go to make a decision, because the punishment is so great. I grew up under a headmaster. My father was a headmaster, so they're strict with the lessons. But he was a strict guy too. But so was my mother. If my sister, the young sister, is on, she will support me with that. They were strict, loving but strict. But I remember whenever he asked me a question, he would explain a sum, a mathematical thing to me, or he'd explain something to me, and then he'll ask me back. No, I think I know the answer, you know. But he was so strict that I was afraid to answer. Because if I answer wrong, I would get licks. I could not make a mistake and answer it wrong. So I used to say, I don't know. And I get licks for not knowing because he just taught me it. Yes, sir? So here's the impact of when you grow up under that strict kind of thing. You begin to doubt yourself, that when you're ready to speak up, somebody asks you a question. Some of these things, you go to a function or an event or a Zoom thing and somebody call your name and you take off your video because you don't want them to call your name because unless you answer something that sounds stupid. You're afraid to make the mistake. You can't make it and laugh at yourself with everybody because you have lost this confidence in saying what you need to say. So that self-doubt comes many times from small, and then going to adult, that you end up with a woman, you end up with a man, you end up in a relationship that the person doesn't want to see their own mind because they don't want to sound as though they're stupid in front of you. So they look stupid by never having an opinion on it. You understand? The childhood wounds that bleed in us when we are adults. We begin to doubt our own ideas. We have some good ideas, but we would not execute them because it might not work. And if it doesn't work, then I have confirmed that I should not have said it. I should not have done it. I should not have launched out on it. And that's why I want to put this out again. If you need help, access and avail yourselves of our private counseling. We can't deal with the things that we want to deal with on here, but the private session would be able to unfold in detail. I could only give some broad brush areas here. And you go to the website www.michaelatstewart.com and you book a session. It will give you select your date. Once you go on there, it will ask you to select your date on the calendar, and then it is going to send you some link for that date. It will block all the dates that are already blocked and leave in color the dates that you may be able to use to book. Okay, so let's see if we could take the poll. We're down to 2 more minutes. If anybody wants to call in these 2 minutes quickly and give a short comment or question, that will be nice. That telephone number is 868-688-5363. It's on your screen. You can be able to use it and call. Thank you for all of you who came out. Let's have the poll results. Is it up? Okay, all right, let me read a couple of things that are on here. Great talk, thank you, Peter P. for Paul. Yes. Going up, Joanne said, I felt humiliated and abandoned due to one of my parents favoring one child. It's hard to forget most times. Yep, Joanne, I know what that could be like. And that's why it's also required for you to get some healing for it. I would really be interested to know how that now affects you in your job and how that now affects you in your relationships. I don't want you to answer it on the line here because I want that to remain your private business, right? But if you're so inclined, we can sit down and chat more about that. Okay. Sometimes you all say that I don't catch all the things that you all are talking about. All right. So I'm seeing, is it Ingrid Green said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Oh, yes. Okay. Carl Jung is a psychologist who has taught a number of things on personality, etc. Judith said it's helpful information. Yes. Yes, you are saying? Okay, so the poll results, 70% of persons said they struggle with childhood wounds. Mercy. Wow. We don't know who answered. The poll is completely anonymous. If you would wish, people said those who wish to get counseling, 45% of people said yes, they would want counseling. 55% of people said no, they don't want counseling. Okay, nicely. Thank you very much. And those who want the counseling, as I said, go to the website www.michaelatstewart.com and book a session. Do not allow this thing to continue to destroy your relationships. Get help. Some people stay too long in it. We run some good partners because some of the partners and spouses that we have that love us just cannot continue to keep up because we have this issue, or you yourself struggling because you love the spouse or the partner and you just cannot continue with that person having the kind of issues that they have from their childhood. All right, so thank you very much. We are down to the end of the hour. We are going to be there again next week Thursday. 9 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you. You all have been such a gracious crowd. And thank you very much. I'm just glancing at some of the responses there. Okay, let me thank Sid Jones for having us do another successful program again. And I hope that you all would be, those who are single would be on our program on Saturday. Go and register. And if not, do the one for the decision determines destiny. That will also be a good one. God bless you all. I'm Michael Stewart. This is Mike at Night. Have a good evening now. Bye. Double B Supermarket, 60 to 62 Government House Road, Scarborough, Tobago. All items reasonably priced, friendly staff. If you don't believe me, you call them 639-5329. If you ask them any question, they'll tell you. Jesus is the answer.
Don't let the weather of the day dictate your pace. I stayed cool every time I got into my vehicle, and you can too. At Tow School Center of 31 Gaskin Bay Road, Bonaccord, they specialize in auto air conditioning with parts and services catering to your car's needs. Call and ask for tows at 660-8777 or 788-3535. Tow School Center, where a comfortable ride is a cool ride.